G'day everyone. Thought I'd do a real quick vid of the Stanza while I have it on the hoist. I'm about to pop it down and swap it over for the Esky, just sitting here patiently. I've got to pull that one apart, so just about to drop it down. Thought while it's up there, let's just have a quick poke around. I've done a video recently with Blendline on this car, so I'll see if I can link that down in the description as well. That's got some more details, but I thought while it's up here, let's just have a quick look around. Good opportunity. So obviously super cool. I won't go into too much about it. Watch the other vid for the details on it. But yeah, just thought we'll just have a look while we've sort of got a dress off and can get underneath and have a look. Probably the biggest points to note under here, the dry sump setup down here. So for anyone that doesn't know how the dry sump setup works, I mean, they're not actually dry, really. I don't know where that name sort of comes from or why they use it, but they still obviously have oil in the sump. So this is a dry sump here, so rather than having a conventional large pan that houses the majority of the oil, that then gets pumped up via an internal pump back to the head and works its way back down. Run a much slimmer fabricated sump or billet these days, or different variations and ways of doing them, but instead now we've got two pickups right in the very base. Those pickups then go up through to the pump, which is sitting up here. Pump's obviously just driven off a belt off the motor. That then pumps through to the oil cooler. Oil cooler then works back into the main tank. So obviously the tank's huge in comparison to a conventional sump. The pump then sucks it out of the tank, pushes it through the filter, and then works its way back into the engine. Obviously the benefits is the majority, or the main one that people would probably speak about is the pickup ability. So when the car's experiencing G's, that you won't have a huge sump hanging down here where the oil can slosh around, and guys will do gates or baffling or whatever to try and prevent that, because you just have an internal pickup hanging down, and obviously it's only picking up from one spot, and even heavy braking, but also mainly cornering. If the oil's sort of moving up to one side of the pan, you can get starvation, whereas obviously there's very minimal room for the oil to move around in here. It's very slim, so the pickup's quite easy to get it, but even if there was starvation, you're working off such a large reservoir. So in this one, it's about, 9 litres or so in this one here. So you got so much oil to use before you would get starvation issues, so you're just simply not going to. Also obviously that works as an air separator as well, so by the time it gets down to the bottom, the oil's not extremely aerated like it can get, so it goes into the motor nice and clean. So that's sort of the basics on a dry sump, if you weren't aware. Turbos down here, which is cool. So for a mid-mount engine car, this is actually quite cool inside. Like, it's still warm because the engine's obviously in there, but it's nothing like the Escort or some others that I've driven that get really hot, like Jason's Cortina is quite warm inside, so we had to do a lot of work to try and help the driver to shield him. So yeah, turbos down here, external gate, just venting straight out. It's actually not super loud though, I think. Just turbos obviously really quiet and exhaust down when they're rotating the airflow. Makes a little bit of noise, but sounds nice. Fuel system's obviously down here as well, and Transaxle. So another one maybe for guys that don't fully understand the Transaxle. Obviously we're completely missing a gearbox up here, so straight into the bell housing, into a shaft. So rather you got the gearbox on the back and the diff in the middle here at the front. So your shaft basically comes all the way through. That's this here. So let's say you don't have your foot on the clutch pedal, this will be spinning when the motor is idling. So obviously as the motor's idling, that idle's coming straight down the shaft, as it would be into a conventional bell housing, and then that's turning the alternator. So the good thing about that system is that the car will still charge while it's on idle. Sometimes I find you've got to give it a couple little blips just to sort of get the voltage up a little bit before the system will kick in. And then you've got the gear set up the top here, that obviously then feeds back into the diff in a sort of standard way, but obviously turned around this direction. So yeah, gearbox and trans all in one. Benefits there is weight and weight distribution. So obviously you can just see the size of that kit. You know, it's probably the size of a pretty average run-of-the-mill gearbox, but the diff's in there as well. So you save on weight, it's nice and compact. You know, distribution's not too bad. Like if you look at the rear axle line, you got a little bit hanging out, small gear set though, and obviously then there's pretty much nothing else back there, so there's not much weight past the rear axle. Pipes coming out the side. Yeah, so that's just a quick look. Smallish brakes, really. You know, they're sitting under a small wheel. Wheels are over there. I mean, there's a wheel, so that's my 18 on the Esky, so that sort of gives you an idea of the size difference. That's a modern sports sedan versus an old one. There's your, you know, that's the height difference just in the front. Width probably actually not too far apart. You know, the modern one's still, but that, so this tyre on the front of the Escort is sort of the smallest 18 that you can run. So the front running guys in Nationals will run a bigger size, and then obviously this size tyre versus the rear is completely different. You know, that's a rear, that's the 710 that most guys would run on the back, and as you can see, you know, like chalk and cheese there, completely different. The Esky's still on small brakes as well because it's obviously running small centres, so if you have a look at these guys, like they're small little old ones, but because it doesn't weigh much, it still stops alright, that's for sure. Sort of no issues there really. I mean, because we don't race it, we're not pushing them to the point that they would heat soak and you know, really maybe start to become a problem, but yeah, they still do the job. Blow off in there. Esky doesn't run a blow off, this one's got one in there. Master cylinders in here, so one front, one rear and clutch. Tucked away and protected up the front there. I might see if we can bring it down. Let me just go and hook this over here for a second. Pop it down on the hoist. Go. Thanks to my awesome magnetic mount by a 3-footed monster, by the way, I'll have a look at that later. Yeah, so nice clean neat setup in here, coolers all at the front, pretty conventional. We corner weighted it recently and found that you can sort of see by looking at it, you know, it's sort of not really been built considering the driver's weight. Like everything is very central besides the tank there being slightly offset. The fuel tank and everything's sitting right in the middle at the back. Couple things like you got battery and oil cooler and things on this side. Obviously the turbo's hanging off this way, but you know, nothing's like severely offset to really offset the driver. So we end up getting the front bang on, so the front's completely even weight and the rear's about 30 kilos heavier on the driver's side. Can't really tune that out, you'd have to sort of start moving things around. But yeah, happy that it's now even across the front. It was a fair way out, and the split front to back is about 51.5% rear and 48.5% front, so it's not bad. You definitely feel that when you're driving, just the way it handles, and yeah, it's a pretty tight cockpit. It's not too bad actually in here, it's much better than the Escort. There's a bit of room there. Obviously the engine's small, hot sides on the other side, so that's sort of out of the way, and the inlet sits up high, whereas the Esky, it sort of hangs off the side, and that's predominantly our problem. Mechanical RPM, not mechanical tacho, sorry. Yeah, she's a bit retro in here, but does the job. The old headrest. I don't know if I use that or not. I'll have to think about it next time I'm in the car, see if my helmet's banging on it or not. She's done a few, they're just sort of what's happened since Simon and Barry have restored it. So they're definitely getting it out and using it, and we're off next week to do Mallar Historic. So you guys will no doubt get this video after that, because I've got no idea how to edit and whatever, but once I work that out, I'll chuck it up. And yeah, if you guys like these sorts of videos and want to see sort of more stuff like this, then let me know. Otherwise, I won't do them, or I'll do something else, or whatever. Yeah, if you got any ideas, let me know. Easy done. See you later.